Hello and welcome everybody to Feedback Fridays, Real Estate Investing Made Easy. Of course, that is the goal. So we're taking questions live as we do every Friday. It's been a great week. I'd love to hear everybody's questions come in live, wins, whatever it is that you've been struggling with as well during this last week so we can overcome them. Probably going to have the rest of the team join us later, but right now it is your host, Christian, here, myself, hanging out with you. So, we do have other questions to go through in addition to that. And let's see if I can mute the noise here. And what we're going to be talking about today, since I've been looking at some of these questions that have come in, some of them have been the same. So we've been running something called the Creative REI Intensive. We in our mastermind, a lot of these questions come up as well, where we're asked with really people not wanting to disclose something that maybe you struggle with too, and that's, you know, I get distracted, I can't close deals even when I show up, and I'm just not really comfortable getting on the phone with people, whether it's agents or whether it's sellers or whether it's any other real estate professional buyers in your area. So it's really hard to do real estate if you are in a position where you're not able to pick up the phone and make phone calls, and it's challenging to get out of that situation in your mind where you can't take that action, especially when you're distracted, when you have shiny object syndrome. And I think that's normal. I think shiny object syndrome is so much more common than anybody might realize, especially as business owners. And I think we'll talk about the way to avoid that. I mean, as a coach, that's a lot of over the last decade what I've worked through with people. And I'd get on the phone with them and I'd talk about action items from the last week. And I'd say, all right, so we start off celebrating wins. What are we excited about that we've accomplished in your real estate investing business over the last 2 weeks? Usually we met every other week, and now we're doing a different structure, but they would come up with all the excuses in the world. Some of them wouldn't even frame them as excuses. They would just say, "Oh, well, I didn't get to it." And I get it because maybe they had a 9 to 5, right? And you've had a 9 to 5, and maybe you do right now and you're watching and you're asking the same question. So we're going to talk about that, how to get through that and how to get over it. And we had one in particular that was a situation where they've been in real estate for a really long time and they just got demotivated. They were wholesaling properties and then they lost their job, their part-time job. It forced them to go full-time into real estate investing. And now they're in a position where they are full-time real estate investing, but now the market's cooled down. And we see this just as like statistics that everything's shifting. So what do you do in this scenario right now so that you can close deals, so that you can not just close deals but actually live, right? Because you want to be able to, uh, for the most part, for most of us here on this channel, we want to be able to have a life that is by design in terms of what we're doing with our time and make real estate investing a full-time thing. Now, that's great having a full-time real estate investing job, but as I alluded to, the person who'd been in it a long time, the market shifted. We'll talk about that right now because what you may find is if you're looking to get your first wholesale deal or your first deal in general, and you're really excited, maybe you have a 9 to 5, and you're thinking like, all right, I know this is what I want to do. I want to do it full time. And it's, you've seen those shows, Flip This House and House Hunters and all that, where they're getting through the properties really quickly. The truth is none of that stuff is scalable for the most part. None of it's sustainable. You will get burnt out. And, I know there's many testaments of that in our sphere of influence. And I'll tell you, if you start off right out of the gate with the plan and goal in mind to actually scale yourself out of the role of any of those roles, then you're not going to get burnt out. And then also, as far as the scalability goes, it's really hard to scale a real estate investing company that's flipping houses. It really is. Geographically speaking, right? If you're only in one area as a MSA, metropolitan statistical area, you're going to be at some point reaching the max, right? You can't scale anymore because there's just not that much inventory. You could be the top in your market. You'd have to then expand to another market. Doing that with a rehab team is possible. And actually, there's one person in particular that comes to mind that is doing that, and they've scaled themselves out of the role because they thought about it beforehand, and it's something that's actually feasible for them to do. So start from the very beginning. One of my friends is really interested in real estate investing, and he doesn't follow the channel. He doesn't do any of that stuff. He's in an Amazon business. He's doing the hustle as a business owner. And of course, you might know people like that too. But then he heard just kind of what we're doing as we're having conversations about real estate investing and some of the profits, and everybody knows, right, what you can expect in terms of where your market is, whether you're wholesaling or rehabbing. And what what he realized was, oh crap, you realize that I can work 3 hours a day, maybe for 5, maybe 6 days a week, and within a month to 2 months, I could potentially have my first deal, or 3 months. We all know the cycle of a deal can take 30 days to close. I mean, that whole I close in 1 week with cash, it sounds great, but at the end of the day, 9 sellers out of 10 are not going to need to get out of their house in most situations in less than a week. Okay, so that's great to know that. If you're not targeting foreclosures, you're probably never going to run into anybody with that level of urgency to leave, even if there's relocation or something like that. So at the end of it, unless it's listed and they've wanted more for their property, it's just been sitting on the market, which is fine. Let's buy listed properties. But one thing that I told this guy, my friend, his name is Shane, is you can actually do this, and yes, you can make it happen. There's gurus out there, obviously, we've all heard them. We've probably stroked them a check before, and that's totally fine. Lesson learned. There's value in it as well, but as far as the theory, it's hard to apply it if you don't know how to do it. It's like getting out of college after 4 years and then showing up to your job and then realizing, wow, I have this information in my head. I feel really good about this degree that I got, and it makes me, uh, you know, not just look good on paper. I know a lot of stuff, but I show up and the job is different than I expected. It's something that's completely different. That's what it's like after, education in real estate. That's why we want to be here talking about what actually works right now and walk you right here on YouTube. Everybody watching step by step through whatever they need to do to get to the transaction. Obviously, we've been investing in real estate for a while, since 2009, also coaching, teaching and training the stuff that's working. So again, as I see you guys are pouring on, we have more people showing up, and ask questions live, because when you ask those questions live, you'll dictate and guide the flow instead of just listening to me tell you my story about how my friend wanted to get started in real estate. And definitely it relates to you. I mean, it must relate to you, because the one factor is his business right now, whether he had a 9 to 5 or not, is not something that he necessarily wants to stay in. He wants a path to, the buzzwords are financial freedom. But the truth, everybody, you guys know, if your goal is finances only and only money, then you're going to burn out. You might be able to get it. Few people do if that's their main and only goal. But we don't need Ferraris, Lamborghinis, and 15 bedroom, 25 bath mansions. Um, None of us really desire that. I mean, most people that I know, that I talk to, they have families. That's why I started with this, because it's not about amassing a bunch of stuff. It's not. And I'm sure I can get an amen in the comments for that. It's about living a lifestyle by design. So how do you do that? Let me know if you're in that position where you are struggling to scale your level of deals or your volume of deals in your real estate investing business, because we're going to talk about that, but you'll dictate, and guide the flow of when we do. And then also let me know if you're just getting started in real estate investing and you want to know what exact steps should I take right now to get the results that I'm looking for. The result is a wholesale deal, perhaps, and it is right out of the gate, hit the ground running. The problem that most people face is that rocking chair motion action. They're taking the wrong types of action. Everybody's, Uh, Sometimes showing up and they're putting in 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hours when they get into it full time. And then they're like, well, I'm putting more time in. So I figured I would get a better result. But you're not. And the reason is because you're taking the wrong moves, the wrong type of action. So instead of direct mail campaigns to, a list of 5,000 people every single month, and then you retarget them 5 separate times, it can work. All marketing works, some better than others, but that might not be the best move, right? And even if you consider text message marketing, which we sent over 4 million text messages last year, which is great, and we had a lot of success doing it, what's the list that you're sending to? You have to ask that question. So I'll tell you what we found has been working right now as far as the list. We shifted from a really wide, tired landlords, massive amounts of data, and it was working. As the market shifted, we had to change from that to more niche pre-foreclosures for sure. And again, not just shifting the actual list that you're pulling, but the strategies. And we're going to talk about in a second. The one strategy that we're doing right now that has saved us over 10 deals that weren't deals that were about to die. And we were going to make zero, but now actually, hey, we're making a lot more money on that. So pivoting to the list, pre-foreclosures, I'm not saying that like pre-foreclosures are up some zillion% or anything like that. They're usually always there in some level. And if you're the first investor to contact and you're the investor that's continuing to be in front of this person, not necessarily mentioning their foreclosure, I wouldn't recommend that in your marketing, just saying, hey, we're looking to buy a house in the area. Are you interested in selling? Then that's going to win you the deal, and it's going to be cheaper if you do it with SMS. Now, there's SMS platforms that you can jump on and you can do this texting yourself, and that's great. And we're actually looking into a couple others. We're about to release a whole lot more about one platform in particular that isn't Launch Control, which it's great. Obviously, for 4 years, we've been talking about Launch Control being the top SMS marketing platform. But at some point, students become teachers. At some points, new leaders arise. Empires rise and fall. And that's not to say that Launch Control is falling. That's just to say that there's other really like head-to-head competitors out there that we have seen several people switch to, and obviously it piqued our interest. So we're looking to incorporate that in our marketing as well. And then there's the option of having AI do it. The first place you want to start, though, before you get anywhere, before you take one foot, so to speak, out the door on this journey of real estate investing, is determine what your budget is. What is your marketing budget that you can sustain over 1/4 minimum? So a lot of people say, well, I could probably afford $500 a month. Okay, so $500 or to $1,000 a month. Can you sustain that quarter over quarter? That's the real question that you should be asking. Because if you can't, then you don't have that marketing budget. Because marketing is, I mean, you could say it's an experiment. There's obviously truth to that, but there's also results. Because after that experiment, through your empirical observation, you see the conclusion is I'm getting seller leads or I'm not getting seller leads. So messaging is important when it comes to the text message marketing. Platforms are important. The lists are important. And one thing that we've uh, wanted to do to eliminate that shiny object syndrome is determine between the two types of platforms for SMS marketing. One that's automated and one that you can actually have time to invest and do that. Because if you're not going to follow up with your leads, nobody else is going to follow up with them for you unless it's a bot. Most bots out there aren't that great. And we've been testing a couple of them that are really, really good. Like one was directly tied to a Facebook chat, and it was all real estate. And we can talk about what it is, but I think the investment was $2,000 every single month, which is fine. I mean, we have, I think it was at some point four. We might have scaled down to three, but four launch control accounts at the 1497 a month, so $1,500 a month for each of those accounts times four, plus the staff. A lot of overhead. You can imagine that is a big marketing budget. The truth is, you do not need a massive marketing budget. You just need a consistent marketing budget. So if you're going to start off, or even if you're in a position where you've been marketing and you're not getting the results that you're looking for, and you're thinking, man, I've closed 1, 2 deals and it's been 6 months. You should be closing at least 1 to 2 deals every single month. You should be. If you're doing this consistently and you're doing it right. So the question isn't, Christian, how do I do it right? The question is, what am I doing that's not serving me? That's the second thing to look into. So obviously determining what your budget's going to be that you can reasonably afford quarter over quarter, not month over month, and then deploy it, right? Looking at time versus money. Are you going to go with a more automated approach, or are you going to go with, you're going to show up and do it? And then of course you have to make sure that you know how to close the leads when they start coming in. But if 6 months and you've had 2 closed deals already, or only 2 deals, then we have to look at what is not serving you in your process and in your real estate investing business. So I would prompt you to begin there. And of course, sending your questions live. Again, we are live. And if you have any specific direction that you're looking for, we'll talk about it. And at the end of the quarter, you want to do a post game analysis. Tracking your KPIs is huge. How do you do that? We have a KPI tracker sheet, and we've sold it, and it comes with some of the packages and stuff that we have. But I'll leave a link to that down below later so that you guys can check out what it looks like and stuff like that. But the training and how to use it is super important because it's not that hard. I remember when I first got started and I heard tracking your KPIs is necessary. I'm like, first off, what is a KPI? Key performance indicator. And that's just showing you what's working and what's not working in your marketing. So doing that, and to scale up truly, you just have to be confident in closing these leads. So Chris has come out with, and he's in the process of having a sales and negotiation course that's just like, as we do our best to release like 95% of the content that's going to help you get from wherever you are to wherever you want to go. Closing is one of those. Seller lead calls is one of those areas that people are always asking us, hey, how can I improve my process? How can I get better? Especially for this one individual who said, hey, you know what? I have a fear of actually getting on the phone with people. So the fear of getting on the phone is very, very common. But I want to tell you something. You guys know Chris Deal here on this channel, right? My business partner and friend here at Real Estate Investing Made Easy. He's got 25 years of sales experience. Now it's been more than that. And he didn't want to get on the phone in real estate investing in any capacity whatsoever to begin with. And that might shock you, it might surprise you. But it's true. I sat there with him, and he and I were talking about real estate. He's bringing his sales skills, which are freaking crushing it. They've gotten better over the last couple of years, and I didn't know how that was possible. But within the context of real estate, he's like, I don't want to make that phone call because I feel like I feel like I'm stupid. Like I don't know enough. And he and I had been coaching together for, I don't know, maybe a month at that point. So really it should have been sooner that he was already on the phone. So we were at a moment in time in history where it was like, all right, bro, you got to pick up that phone. I could do it, but that's not going to help you. And then talk to that agent about making an offer on that listed property. And he's like, what am I supposed to say? And I'm like, bro, you know what you are supposed to say. And he did, by the way. But the knee-jerk reaction of, what am I supposed to say? That's obviously a symptom of that fear in the back of your mind, which he explained, obviously, as I shared, that like he just felt like he didn't know enough. The truth is that you probably already know enough to be super successful, scale your business from where you are to do multiple deals. And I promise you, we're going to talk about the shifting, not just with what we've talked about so far, right? The lists and the marketing methods, but also the actual exit strategies. So looking at all of these leads, no matter what the list type is, from a different perspective, that's going to open the door to get you more closed deals. Deals that people would even think are dead deals. That's not a lead at all, because they want too much for their property, and it's not going to work as a wholesale. It's not going to work as a fix and flip. I can't even buy and hold it at the number that they want. we're going to talk about that because that's the next thing. But obviously, picking up the phone and having a fear around that is super important to overcome. So, when you consider that no matter where you are in your real estate investing business, if you've never closed a deal before or you've closed a lot of deals, but you're ready to go and you want to scale your business, and then you look at the market and you think, man, things are slowing down and the same tried and true methods weren't working that are working now. Like I said in the beginning, if you're just tuning in, we were pulling lists for like tired landlords nationally. We were pulling a lot of data and we were getting good results. But after a while, it started to dry up after 2020, 2021 into 2022. And then we realized, heck, we really need to make a change because the lead flow was, drying up and we're still spending massive amounts of money on data to skip trace it and then the platforms. And then we had to make a change. And the change was the list. And then the list also proved that, okay, these people are motivated, but we can't really meet them where they want to be at a cash number. Heck, sometimes even creative terms aren't working. So we had to shift and pivot even more to things called novations. And we've locked up, heck, I wish Chris was on here because I think the number we're at right now over the last, it's more than 10 deals that were novations. And if you think you can't make a lot of money with novations, it's like getting a really good wholesale fee in most cases. And it's just it's the one of the coolest strategies that exists that are completely legal. I mean, all the stuff we talk about is legal, just as a preference, just so you know, because that preface is important. But when you get into shifting the list and it doesn't work, say you start going after pre-foreclosures and tax liens, right? Remembering that you're still maintaining that budget month over month based off the quarter, not the month. You need to try it for at least 3 months. I would recommend 6 months. That's why our done for you marketing services have been 3 months minimum, but we encourage 6 months. All that to say, like, we're not doing that anymore. We're not accepting any done for you marketing clients, just so you know. So that's not a pitch. That's just to tell you that, like, you have to stick with it. If you're going to put the money in 1 month, it's wasted if you don't put it in month 2. And then both of those months are wasted if you don't put it in month 3, for the most part. Now, there was this guy that actually is a really cool case study about that. We're going to go live with this guy named Josh, who is one of the founders of a text platform that we're finding is really crushing it. I was on the phone with him yesterday, actually, and I'm going to meet with him later on today, but he was telling me about a use case from this guy named Chris, not Chris Deal, but that he was 3 weeks into this campaign of SMS marketing. He had changed, just like I talked about, he had changed the list that he was targeting. He had changed the approach that he was, his messaging, because he had just signed up for this particular platform. So that was his approach change, right? His method. He was doing something on another platform. And then he started text message marketing within 3 weeks. He had sent 9,000 messages. That might sound like a lot, but if that sounds like a lot to you, just know that sometimes that's what it takes. And I think that bears repeating. 9,000 messages a month. I mean, we're sending way more than that. If you look at like Launch Control, and if you look at Smarter Contact, Launch Control in particular has 10,000 as like the lowest. There's a reason for that. The reason for that is that's the amount you want to be targeting. Just budget for that. And then at the end of the day, it was an $85,000 assignment fee for a pre-foreclosure. It took 20 days to close, but he got it locked up under contract, and he had spent like $1,200. So $1,200, $1,000 a month is really the target that you guys want to hit for your repeat month over month target. And if that sounds like it's a lot of money, because I know in some respects that it can be, and it feels that way, then I would encourage you to really just dive deep into what you're doing. What are ways that you can team up with other investors instead of running your own ship? Everybody wants to be a captain, and I get that. Everybody wants to, be the own pilot of their craft. But if you've found yourself in a position where you're where you're not able to scale or close deals at the rate that you want, and maybe it's not even working for you, then joint venture with other people, joint venture with other real estate investors. I mean, that's one of the reasons why we have disposition support and we have closing support. And those two things, we give priority, disposition and closing support, to our mastermind students that we meet with every week on Wednesday, in a closed session. So it's not on YouTube, but we also offer that to you guys. So this isn't just like exclusive. It's just they're first in line for us to take more action on what they're sending us, because they've invested in themselves and the education and everything monthly. So if that's you, I would consider any lead that you're looking at, right? Bring it to the table. Like, we'll do deal review on Fridays. That could be part of Friday feedback or feedback Fridays, which it has been. But I'm saying on a regular basis, if you guys have leads that you're looking at, and you even just want us to look into your leads for underwriting purposes live in action, bring them, throw them in the chat. Let's get into it. Let's see if it's a deal or if it's not a deal. And then we'll get on the phone with them and close them. I mean, if it's closable, right? If it's not a lead, if it's not a deal, then it's not a deal. We're not going to try to force a close where there's no actual deal. So all that said, this guy, Chris, it's not Chris Deal, who made that, $85K. It was from a foreclosure lead, and the messaging was simple. What we found is two-stage message templates work better when you reach out in compliance with TCPA regulations, right? Your 10DLC registration and all that stuff. Then your messages are like, hey, do you still own 123 Main Street? And then, as they reply, if you're managing this yourself, this is what you're looking for. They reply like, yeah, I still own it. And then you can say like, well, great. At that point, you're past those carrier limits, like limitations of like negative keywords being flagged, because they just responded to you. So you can say whatever you want, and you don't have to worry about deliverability rates, right? But that's the real reason why there's those flagged keywords: offer, looking, right? Those types of things. So you don't want to say that. Or selling, that's a negative keyword as well in SMS marketing. So just, hey, are you the owner of 123 Main Street? Simple question. That's working good, really well. And then you want to get onto the phone with them as fast as possible. But remember, we talked about getting over that fear of getting on the phone. So be sure that if you do have that fear, tune into our playlist, Cold Calling Live Sellers, and having those seller live conversations, not just cold calling, but also following up, so that you can understand what to say, write out your own scripts. What I would recommend is bullet point out kind of the main topics that you learn as you digest that content here on Real Estate Investing Made Easy, and then put your own spin on it. The 3 I's of scripts, I've always taught this, and I think it's nobody's ever told me, Christian, that's groundbreaking. But I think it's to the point. So I'll tell you what it is. 3 I's of scripts are: the first I is you have to imitate. So you imitate what the script is if you're using somebody else's script. So just go over it verbatim. And you might sound a little bit robotic, right? Like, hi, my name is John from smarthomebuyers.com. I'm calling about your property on 123 Main Street. So that's fine, because you got to start somewhere. And then the second I is integrate. At some point, as you continue to repeat these scripts over and over again, you're going to learn them, no matter how long they are. And that's true. You can do that, by the way. I am by no means some sort of progeny or like genius, but I was in acting when I was in high school, and I never did it in college because I was over it after that. But I was Hamlet in a play, Hamlet. You guys know Shakespeare, and I memorized the whole freaking soliloquy. I memorized all my lines, and it took a long time. It took several months to get all of my lines down. And you know how much money that made me? Nothing. Nothing. Of course, I wasn't investing in real estate when I was in high school. So at the end of the day, you have to look at it, from that perspective. You may have not been enacting when you were in high school or whatever, but you still have the same ability to memorize lines, and obviously you want to keep telling yourself positive things. I do believe in positive affirmations. You don't want to continue to think negatively of yourself, like, I could never memorize a whole script. I could never do that. Yeah, you actually can, because you have a God-given ability to do really cool things like that, like remember things. That was a gift from you or from God. You might not know that you actually can until you try. And there are tricks, right? There are tricks to be able to actually do that, to memorize it. But if it's worth it, then you'll do it. So if it's standing in your way, getting on the phone, having a fear of picking up the phone to have these conversations with sellers or whoever you're going to be talking to, because it could be agents, could be other real estate investors you're looking for buyers to build your buyers list, or even joint venture, like I mentioned. Let's get the scripts, man. Let's start memorizing those scripts as much as you possibly can, because you can. And then the second I is integrate. I mean, once you have those scripts down, and even if you're just reading it, you don't have it completely memorized, you want to bullet point the script out, because you've gone over it and over it and over it. So you know what's coming up, the 4 pillars, your expectation, motivation, time frame, condition, you're not necessarily just going line by line, like, what is the condition of the roof? What is the condition of the foundation? What is the condition of the eaves? You're not doing that, right? You're just going to say, hey, if you'd be staying in the home, what would you do to make the place feel more like home? Is there any project you've wanted to do around the house that, was a burning desire that you just never were able to get to, and now you're at the point where you're looking to sell? Oh, great. Remodeling the kitchen. Cool. What were you gonna update? Right? Just having a conversation with people, and then but you're following these bullet points that you've created from the script. And then from those bullet points, I mean, at some point you can innovate and you don't even need them, right? Chris doesn't need bullet points to address in front of him, because, over the last 4 or 5 years, he's been doing this nonstop. Even though I'm not personally on the phone every single day with sellers or anything like that, I don't need a list of things that I need to know and understand as far as information gathering to qualify or disqualify a lead. I've been doing it for over math 14, 15 years. So, but obviously it hadn't always been 14 or 15 years. There was a point in time where I was also newer, and I was looking to do deals that I had never yet done. So all that to say, when you get to the third I, you innovate, you get off the script, and then you just go off the cuff, knowing in your mind those guidelines that you have, that, like, you just know what you need to do. You know your end goal. It's in mind. So with your end goal in mind, right? What is your end goal in mind for your business? Continue to keep that in mind. Pick up the phone, call those people, and if you need a joint venture, joint venture. If you're not getting results, consider, what lists are you pulling? If you're not doing it that way, I'd love to learn about what you guys are doing so we can talk about it. And that is for marketing, right? Because again, all marketing works, some better than others. I mean, we're not recommending direct mail or anything like that, unless it's to a small niche list. Another list to go after, by the way, just so you know, that I think might be helpful for you in your area, no matter what area you're in, is a code violations list. Now, in code violations list, you're going to get barking dogs and stuff like that. You just filter those out. Obviously, it has nothing to do with like, my neighbor, his dog keeps barking, or her dog keeps barking, and I'm calling the county or the city. So you filter this out. There's all sorts of different, and if you guys want me to put a video together more in depth about code violations and like how to sift through the list, I can do that for you, but you just have to put in the comment section below, yeah, I would like a code violations list. Okay. Don't just put I'm in, because this thing is 45 minutes long. So I want to make sure that I know what you're telling me. If I get enough people that say, yes, I want to know how to get these code violations list, then I can do a screen share. Now, there's another situation where a screen share doesn't even matter, because you have to physically go into the county. And I find it hard to believe that that's going to be the majority of people's experience, because, I mean, it's freaking 2023. Like, most municipalities, even though I get it, government technology is like 10 years behind, not like military scientific stuff. I'm talking about, like, If you go to a government office, my parents were both in government for a long time. Well, they were in the Marine Corps and then they were private contractors, or sorry, government contractors for a long time. Going in their office, dude, they were on like freaking Windows, or what is it, Vista? Windows Vista, all the way up until like 2019. Crazy. Like what? All the computers, they're still cathode ray tubes and stuff like that. It's ridiculous. So we got Adrian that says, years I want the list. Yes, I want the list. So yeah, we'll do that. I'll put that together. I'll tell you the overview right now before I actually put that video together, because it's not together yet. And that is, you can go to the county website, right? San Diego is where we are investing mostly. And maybe this will prove to be helpful for you to take action on right now. What I'll do is I'll share my screen. And as I do, let's look at San Diego County Code Violations. Let's just look there. It's going to take you to Code Compliance Division. So repeat this in your area, and then planning and development. Code violations list, by the way, we found the link and we have a in our docs and stuff a direct link to it, but you can search online to find it. And let's keep looking here. You know, of course, if you want code compliance, you can contact them. Finding an appeal is like, I think this is a one-off, so this isn't going to generate the entire list. Or sorry, that's obviously I was up till 2 o'clock in the morning. That says filing an appeal, not finding. So this is actually not the website. I know this because I know, unless they changed everything, that is not it. So departments, you go here on the sites and you search for, let's see, like code enforcement is the name. Code enforcement. County code compliance, enforcement. Stand by, everybody. I know this this might not be the most entertaining part of our chat today, but it should be producing results and be educational, even if it's not that entertaining. As I'm looking for this, I'll tell you a sidebar to that. It's actually something that I found about myself. I realized that I felt the need to be entertained more and more. And if I wasn't entertained, because of TikTok, dude, attention spans have gone down so much. We as business owners, we can't be about that. We cannot be about that, because I've learned so much over the years from sitting down and listening to crap I didn't want to listen to until that one thing came up that changed everything, that I needed that piece of information. So please stand by. Yeah, they changed their website, dude, since the last time I've been on it. But this is where I would recommend. So I'm going to search Google for code enforcement. Geez Louise, what is it? Code enforcement San Diego. And we're going to get to this because I know that it exists. It was there. I've searched for it before. Oh, and by the way, just so you know, the first time that I was looking online for the code enforcement stuff, here it is. This is it. All right. So this is the one-off, right? Where you can search investigation numbers, but I believe that you can search and it'll produce a list with, with the end date to start date, and then you can extract that list. It used to be I could just download it. So your government's website, municipality, is going to have something like this. So obviously we don't go by the investigation number. Read the instructions as it tells you to search. You got short-term rental as well. And as far as searching, let me just bring up general search by address, license, right? Record information. Let's stick with general search. And then as far as the investigation status, we want it to be open. What's going on here? It's not letting me click it. I'm trying to click it, y'all. It's not letting me click it. Street name, direction. Yeah, we have to obviously put in some. So this is just the date. Maybe that's what we'll just do. So from 8/4/23, let's go back to the beginning of the year instead. So 1, and then let's search and we'll see the result that's come up. And this is exactly what we're looking for. Download results. Look at that. You want to find code violations? And here's the deal. I know what you cannot see right here is the actual, well, some of it will give you the address, but the actual like noise. What did I tell you, dude? Noise barking dogs. You want to filter these out. That's ridiculous. Those ones, we definitely do not want noise barking dogs. But here you go, zoning landscaping. They're bush, nobody cares. This is what we're going for. I would look at all these, dude. Look at all these just from the beginning of the year. I'm going to download this and I'm going to show you how to filter through this right now. So this is just San Diego, but there's more municipalities where this is accessible. By the way, Adrian, where are you geographically? Or where, maybe not where you are, but where are you investing? Because that's what's more important, wherever it is. You could be in Uganda or Pleiades. Maybe not that far. And you can invest anywhere because of technology now. So it's no big deal wherever you are, but where are you investing? So here's a record list. I'm just going to download that. And here we go. Open that up. And will it open on this website or where'd it go? Oh, it's still opening. There you go. So here are all of the code violations in San Diego County. Oh, something really, really important. So Los Angeles County, thank you for that. It's going to have something similar to this, right? And I've seen it before. So you just do that. And then you've downloaded this list here, which I'm going to share on the screen here in just a second again. But I wanted to tell you something, which I think I forgot specifically what I was going to say. I'll remember it because this is important. So let's get back into filtering through this list. So this list right here, we got it pulled up. And obviously we have all the dates, which is interesting because it goes back to 2022, December. So I guess, it just, hold on, stand by. It's sort of sending. Oh, wow, 2021. Okay, so obviously we would want to filter this a little bit better when we do that. But when you're looking at this, I would recommend taking the actual complaint itself, application name, what is it, and then filtering by it. So this is not Excel, this is numbers. And I am not by any means a numbers expert. I usually use Google Drive. So let's look at the quick filters. You see all of these things. Infestation, that actually might be one. Leaking sewage might be another one. Understand that if there's clay pipes, it's an older house, stuff like that. The city sewer to the house line could be completely destroyed. So that's a good one. Mold is a good one. You want to go and search this stuff and target these properties. The address is right there, and there they all are. And oh, by the way, the first deal I ever got was off a code violations list, and I made $250,000, and this was back in 2009. Forgot to mention that. So this is what I was doing. And this is what you can still do. In fact, it's probably easier and more accessible. So, okay, this is obviously a good one to go after. Sidewalk Cafe. And that is in the middle of your door knocking campaign. Just, hey, where are the sidewalk cafes for me to take a quick break? But you don't want a direct mail campaign or a campaign to buy their sidewalk cafe. Unless you do, I guess. That's what you want to do. So these are all good. Unpermitted grading. Oh, storage and hoarding. That's huge. That's huge. There's even abandoned structures, stuff like that. Fence violation, get it out of here. You don't want that. Medical marijuana, forget about that. Whatever. Unpermitted work, that's probably not, it could be, okay, but that's probably not the best option to choose. Unpermitted work typically is somebody who's already bought it, who's fixing it and flipping it, and they didn't pull permits on it, and the neighbors, really terrible neighbors, they literally pick up the phone. Hey, yeah, my neighbor didn't pull a permit, and I see something being built. Get a life, dude. You know what I mean? Like, come on. Or it's like just somebody who is living in their house and they want to build an extra addition and they didn't pull a permit for it. 9 times out of 10, actually more than that, 99 times out of 100, I've found that when I've marketed to those, the people call me and they're like, yeah, I own the house, man. I'm not selling it ever. In fact, I'm forcing appreciation through renovation and I'm building onto it. I just didn't pull a permit because screw the county or screw the city. So that's really the result that you might find with unpermitted work. So all that say, abandoned properties is huge. And I would go down this list and I would just check off the ones that you want to see. So here's sorted by abandoned properties. And then this is good too. Involuntary compliance, they were forced. The case is closed. The case is closed. There's no violation. Active investigation, active enforcement. If you had to guess, what do you think would be like the top of the top? Let's do this right now and target this particular data set. Which one of these? Active enforcement, active investigation, voluntary compliance, no violation. Which one of those? Duplicate case doesn't count because it's a duplicate. Well, I'll tell you, and that would be the active enforcement. And then because that is them enforcing it. What does it mean to have a code violation on your property? Oh, by the way, on my own house, where I'm in right now, my basement, I bought this house, and then within I think it was 3 weeks, we had two active code violations on our property. And we're like, what? I didn't do anything. They're resolved now. It was years ago. But you know what they do? They start fining the homeowner if they don't fix it. And the fines just keep racking up every month, every single month, month over month. It's more than a freaking car payment. It could get just as much as your mortgage payment. So when I say that these people could be motivated sellers, believe they are motivated sellers oftentimes. Sometimes they're not, okay? But that's just the same with every other list. Now you want to get really, really, really next level, take this list that you have and you filter, by the way, I'm still looking at it, and cross-reference the pre-foreclosures. Many of them will be the same, especially if they're abandoned, especially if there's hoarding situations. Oftentimes that's the case. So hopefully that's helpful. You know, I promised I'd get to some things, and I hope I didn't break my promise. But I'll tell you, moreover, I hope this was valuable for you guys. If you have any questions related to anything, been investing for a long time, drop it in the comment section below and ask, because we're open books. We're open books. So consider this your free real estate investing education crash course. Oh, by the way, I don't know if I mentioned this to you guys. As far as like real estate education, I worked for a real estate education company for over a decade, and people were like paying $35,000 to $75,000 just to get in the door and learn. Yeah, and I helped build the curriculum, and I was teaching and training at that company. So, show up. I like sitting in my basement hanging out. I get to go upstairs and see my children and my wife in the middle of my day or whatever, whenever I want. But you know what I also like to do? Not as much as seeing my kids and my wife, hang out with you guys. So definitely stay tuned. I'll see you next week, unless I see you in the mastermind or in the Creative REI Intensive, which I'll link more information below. If you're interested in joining that, I would recommend it. But yeah, we'll see you guys later, where we're going to continue to make real estate